Welcome to Happy Hour with Haley. I am your host, Haley Chura, and I am joined this week by a very special co-host, my good friend of many, many years, Shelly Anderson. Welcome, Shelly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for my podcasting debut.
I wish we had a behind the scenes of this whole episode because this is actually like take 2 of this podcast because our first one had such bad audio quality, and now we are sitting in a hotel room at Disney World, and I am inside the hotel room, you're on the patio, and we're just praying that this works out. But we do have beverages because this is happy hour, and we're going to explain the location and co-hosting situation soon. But we do have beverages. I am drinking a Disney coffee that I've been nursing now for probably several hours because that's how long this has taken. What are you drinking?
I have moved on from my coffee and I am on replenishing electrolytes. So this is LMNT and water.
Yeah, okay. And we will get to why you are replenishing your electrolytes and why I am dressed like this. But first, I want to talk about who you are and make sure our audience knows who you are and why you're here. I mentioned you are one of my oldest friends. Do you remember how we first met?
I do. I think we first met at Dynamo Masters swim team. Everyone here knows that Haley swam in college, but I also swam at Clemson. And when I moved to Atlanta, we were both training still in the pool with Dynamo Masters and some other former college swimmers with Coach Maria Thrash. And that's how we met and just enjoyed some fun times in our 20s together in Atlanta.
We are so lucky. I do feel like we are so lucky because we were these like young 20-something-year-olds, and we started swimming at this master's group and just fell in with a really, really good group of people. And I feel like as a 20-something-year-old navigating early parts of my professional accounting career, it was so nice to have especially women who were a little bit older as mentors. And I think that is what we found. And we're still friends with all those women to this day. You know, we don't necessarily swim at Dynamo as much anymore, especially me, because I moved to Montana. But I'm really thankful for those years. And I'm thankful that we have maintained our friendship. And now we are on a trip together that didn't even involve any swimming.
That's right. I think it started all 2 years ago when I was turning 40 and wanted to do something special and had mentioned the idea of coming to a runDisney race. Two of our friends, Nicole and Megan, both always said how fun the Disney races were. And obviously, we have a long history of endurance sports, and it was cool to try something new. And I think I remember that you signed us up and was like, what race should we do? Which race should we pick? And I said, oh, let's just maybe do the half marathon, maybe the 10K also. And we ended up signing up for Dopey, which, if you don't know what that is, it's all 4 of the races throughout the weekend.
Right. So how you sign up for Disney races is kind of similar to a concert. And I likened it a little bit to the Taylor Swift concert, trying to get tickets for the Eras tour. It sells out really fast and you have to be like ready online. And 2 years ago when Shelly first had this idea, I was like, oh, I'll see if I can get in. And my wait time was like 5 minutes, which is really low. And I just got lucky. I totally just got lucky. I thought it was always like that. It is not always like that. I got lucky and I was like, we have the pick of it. And I'm like, we'll just sign up for Dopey. Let's go big or go home. And as you mentioned, Dopey is all 4 races. So 5K, 10K, half marathon, 4 consecutive days. These races start between 4:30 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning, which I don't know if I fully appreciated that when I first signed up. But at Walt Disney World, different courses, running through the parks. We initially did this sort of as a birthday celebration for you 2 years ago, had a fantastic time, and then we're back this year and you're indulging my podcasting post race. So we are recording this immediately post half marathon. So it's Saturday, post half marathon. Tell me about your 5K, your 10K, and your half marathon so far.
Sure. I think my goals this year, coming back 2 years later to run Dopey, included improving each of my run times. So not necessarily a set time for each one, but on the 5K, I improved, I think, my Dopey time by 4 minutes, the 10K, 5 or 6 minutes. And today I think I was about 7 minutes faster than my half marathon previously. And I think I just feel a lot stronger and a lot better going through the race days. Of course, you're not. I mean, some people set PRs at these races, but for me, it's a lot about energy management. And so far, I've met each of my goals, and I think I feel pretty good going into the marathon tomorrow.
Energy management when you're racing 48.5 miles over 4 days, is very key. Okay, I mean, those are huge numbers of time drops. I mean, 4 minutes in a 5K, who does that? Like, especially on these courses. Tell me about the courses because that we've run so far. All the races start in Epcot because they have a big parking lot, and and then we are running through the park, and you know the parks really well. What are you looking for when you run through these race courses?
Sure. I haven't always known the parks really well. I think my first trip to Disney as an adult was only right before we did Dopey the last time, so I had a little bit of experience. I have since been back a number of times, so it's really fun to start out the 5K. If you're familiar with Epcot and the countries that are represented throughout Epcot, you get to run around the World Showcase past all of the countries, and then back to the Epcot parking lot. The 10K is fun because you get to do that same thing, but then add on the boardwalk area that is right outside of Epcot. And then the half marathon that we did today is special because you basically spend the first 4 or 5 miles running out to Magic Kingdom, and then you get to run through the castle, which is beautiful at night, and down Main Street towards the castle, and then back to Epcot. And then the marathon is super special because you get to go through all four parks. So it's a great carrot throughout the marathon to say, okay, just make it to Magic Kingdom, just make it to Animal Kingdom, just make it to Hollywood Studios, and then make it back to Epcot. So it kind of keeps that carrot out in front of you as you're going through the miles.
So the courses are special. You mentioned running through the castle at night because as we said, these races start really early and it does feel a little bit like you're running in the middle of the night, but that's normal for you.
It is. I do most of my training and starting in the 4 o'clock hour. I generally naturally wake up in the 4 o'clock hour, but I do my long runs also on Fridays because I like to get them out of the way so my husband can also run long on the weekend. And I also find that it's better for recovery for me to just kind of be sitting at my desk working all day after my long runs rather than running around with the kids all weekend to soccer games and flag football games and things like that. And so I think most of my long runs this cycle, my friends were joking with me that they're labeled as night runs on Strava because I think if you start before 4 a.m., they consider it running in the middle of the night. And the races, you definitely feel the first day when you're getting up at 2 in the morning as though you're running in the middle of the night. But for me, at least, especially because I'm coming from Eastern time, I know it's more difficult for you coming from Mountain time. It's it gets easier as the days go on. You start getting on a better schedule with eating dinner around 5, going to bed around 8, getting up at 2. And then I think once you get coffee and breakfast in, it doesn't feel kind of as middle of the night once you get to the half marathon and hopefully the marathon.
Yeah, I keep telling myself I hope tomorrow feels easier. And then that alarm goes off at 2 a.m. and it doesn't feel any easier. But maybe I've just forgotten and it was worse yesterday. But it is a unique part of this race starting very, very early. And that is so that we can run through most of the parks before they open, with the exception of the marathon. The parks do open for the marathon. But let's also talk about the costume aspect of this race because I think that there's like, well, obviously, how I am dressed right now. I have not showered. Shelly showered because she's a little bit more of an adult than me. But I have not showered since the half marathon. I'm still wearing my costume because I'm very proud of it. This was my half marathon costume. I'm actually supposed to be Constance Hatchaway from the Haunted Mansion ride, who is a murderous bride. She murders her husbands with a hatchet. I did not carry a hatchet for the race, but I had some like good eye makeup going. This my good friend and teammate Katie Yvek Idbase actually helped me modify this like Halloween costume. Here's the Halloween part and the murderous part. So when I came across the finish line today, I finished second. Spoiler, but we'll talk more about that. But I came across the finish line and someone from medical came up and was like, "Do you need like some help?" And I was like, I'm okay." And he's like, "No, you're bleeding." And I was like, "What?" And Shelly, this is it looks way worse than
My
it
gosh,
is.
Haley.
It doesn't hurt, but the chafing a little bit, like, this is like a lace costume, and, I guess there's just, like, a lot of chafing, and I
I
didn't
think that
realize
shower's gonna hurt.
that's okay, this might be another reason I haven't showered. I am also we're both wearing our medals. This is, what is oh, because it was romance themed. So we have, Daisy and Donald on this medal with a heart because it was romance themed, and so that is why I wore the wedding dress for the murderous bride. To fit with the romance theme, and because I love Haunted Mansion, but it worked well. I ran pretty well, 1:23 half marathon
Awesome.
in costume after running a 5K and 10K the last 2 days. I'm really happy. Finished second. Very proud of that. It is it is a good time. But can you tell me about your costumes? What did you wear for 5K, 10K, and half marathon?
Okay, so the 5K I wore, I think it was supposed to be like space themed, so there were a lot of aliens. But I took the space theme and dressed as the Epcot ball. So the Spaceship Earth ride Epcot ball, and enjoyed that. And then for the 10K, I reused a previous costume because I also love Haunted Mansion and was the Haunted Mansion wallpaper. And that got me a lot of compliments on the 10K yesterday. And I was going to reuse a costume for the half marathon. But once you told me you were going to be Constance, I had to get on board with it because I've had two previous Haunted Mansion costumes and I had to add this one to my repertoire. So I had a last minute scramble for a Constance Hatchaway costume as well, including this hat. Um, and it was awesome. It was great.
Couple comments like go Daisy, because again, the theme was Daisy Duck, and I got some go Princess. But I'm glad no one thought I was like was just married. So that was my worry. I was like, hopefully the makeup and the like general I guess the morbidity of this outfit did not suggest that. But I do love Haunted Mansion. Great ride. It was fun being Constance for the half marathon.
To hear
And
about your other costumes and
oh,
your
that's
5K and 10K.
yes, thank you. I teed that one right up. I For the space theme 5K, I was C3PO from Star Wars. I wore like all gold, and I felt like when I tried that costume on that it looked a little bit like Austin Powers. But I actually got some good I feel like people got it. Not maybe C3PO, but like that it was like supposed to be sci-fi. And then for the 10K, I dressed as a pirate. And that was a little bit of a mix and match of other things I had, but I think it worked out. Jocelyn Wong Neal, who sometimes co-hosts this podcast, actually suggested I was Mr. Smee from Peter Pan. And there
Oh.
is definitely some resemblance. And I like Googled, I was like, is he evil? But he's like adjacent to evil. Like he wasn't actually like an inherently bad character. I was like, oh, we can go with that. I like this. But both those races were pretty good for me. I didn't set like a 4-minute PR or from 2 years ago. It was more like I think maybe 4 seconds, which actually, given my last couple months of life, I will take a 4-second PR, but from 2 years ago. But I think the 5K, it feels like running in the middle of the night. Like that is such a rough transition coming from mountain time, starting a race at 5 a.m. Eastern. I had taken a red-eye flight to get here, so it's been a lot of nights of no sleep, but I kind of eased into it, and then I was running in second behind this other woman, Andrea from Mexico City, and she was dressed as Winnie the Pooh, I think. And so I'm like chasing down Winnie the Pooh. And it was quite warm, and so I think that actually worked in my favor, and I was able to pass her in the last mile and get that win. And it was so cool to catch up with Andrea a little afterwards because she was going for a PR and she actually did get it, which is super impressive because that race, as you mentioned, around the World Showcase, very scenic, but also like not necessarily made for quick running. A lot of turns and some like bridges, even though it's technically kind of flat, it's just not always the fastest, but it is really fun. Um, Congratulations to Andrea. Then the 10K, I said I dressed as a pirate, but that race I ran almost like 5 miles, like shoulder to shoulder, neck and neck with this woman, Anastasia from Brazil. And there were just a lot of thoughts going through my head during that race, Shelly. I was like, it's interesting as a coach and as an athlete, even kind of a some mostly retired athlete. There were parts of me that was like, I am mostly retired. I don't want to go this hard. Just like all the bargaining. And at a certain point, I just decided, you know what? I don't want to make this easy for her. And so I'm just going to try to hang on as long as I can. And somewhere in the 4 to 5 mile range, I actually like pulled ahead and I got a little bit of gap. And then I'm like, oh, I can hang on. I'm going to win this. And I kind of got that in my head. And I was like rounding one of the final turns where they always have this choir singing. It's really pretty special. And I'm just like soaking it up, waving to the crowd, getting so excited. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see like this woman in a white tank top and I'm like, it's her. It's Anastasia. And she's like coming up on me, and kudos to her because I had looked back a couple times and didn't see her. And so she came right up back up on me. And I just decided, I was like, I can't have led for this long and let her win right now. And so I did kick like I have never kicked in my life. I don't know, 40 years old. I didn't know I had that in me, but I'm really proud of that kick. And Anastasia actually like got someone who filmed it, which was like also wonderful. My moment of glory, but also hers. Like she was right there, and so much admiration for her like putting in that final push and going for it. But we ended up finishing like a second apart, and I'm so proud of that finish, and I'm
That's
proud
awesome.
of Anna, and it was great. I got to meet her and talk to Andrea who got third afterwards, because these races, like some people are racing one race and then some people are racing multiple races, like two, some people like us are racing four. And so there is a little bit of a community, but it is definitely like people are doing the same thing, but people doing their own things. It's a unique environment.
Yes. Correct me, but I think you were faster in 2026 than 2024 in the 10K as well.
I might have been. I
Yes.
don't have those official stats, but I know. Look at that. Faster as a master. It really
That's
does
awesome.
work. And I'll give myself credit because it was a little warmer this time. But I think part of those were the competition. I think that I have glitter in my eye. I think the like competition of um having those women so close. I'm really thankful for that, to like find out, even though in the moment I was like, oh, this would be so much easier if I was just like further ahead, further behind. But in the moment you're like, this is what I like as an athlete and this is what I want, the challenge. So
That's
I am
awesome.
thankful for them. But
Can
as
you talk a little bit more about the camaraderie you had? Because I think when I finished the 10K, which was significantly behind you, you were still standing and talking with the top three women, the podium.
Yeah, okay, I love a race finish line and I love chatting. And so we did start in different waves. And so I had a little bit of time. And at these Disney races, like you finish in the Epcot parking lot, it's a big parking lot, but we were able to just like meet each other and chat a little bit. And Andrea was telling me about living in Mexico City and the running community there, and it was like so fascinating. And it is just really, really cool. I think Disney is like a very inclusive place, and then Run Disney also. So you get like all different kinds of runners and a lot of people in costume. And I think people feel really safe and comfortable. And I think that also just like can create some good conversations. And the people who show up at these races, I'm proud to be among them. This morning I got to warm up with Jen, who is a woman who won I think some of the Disneyland races in the past, and she was here at Disney World, and we warmed up together, and it was just like it's fun to talk about it. And she's wearing her like fairy wings, and I'm in my murderous bride dress, and we're just like jogging around, warming up, and she was actually one of the first people to finish who asked me afterwards. I saw her. And she's like, "Did you win?" And I was like, "Ah, no, I got second in this one." I didn't meet the woman who beat me because I think she was too far ahead. But sometimes that happens. But it is a special community. Even just like the course today, the half marathon course, as you mentioned, we ran to Magic Kingdom, and it's kind of an out and back. And so I'm running back, and a lot of the waves behind me have recently started. And so they aren't as far. And so you have this like group of people yelling across the highway, like cheering for
So
me. And it was so cool because I think that section could feel really lonely. You're not in a park, but I just am always so flattered and thankful when another competitor is using some of their energy and their breath and their oxygen just to cheer me on. And I think that that was one of the coolest things and something I didn't necessarily expect in the Disney races, but it's pretty fun. Even though the ethos of these races, I don't feel is, like, necessarily going fast. It's more like being part of it and getting the character pictures, running through the parks, and you've done that, right? You've stopped for certain pictures.
Sure. I think in the marathon in 2024, I stopped for Joy. Just, any character that I think is
From
really
Inside
special.
Out.
Yeah, from Inside Out. And then in one of the more recent Disney races that I ran with my friend Nicole, we stopped for, I think, the Hitchhiking Ghosts. Um, and I always like to stop for the Epcot ball. There's usually a photo opportunity in front of the Epcot ball. Sometimes it's hard to see where the photo opportunities are though, because it's pretty dark. When it's the characters, you can tell because there's usually a pretty long line when I'm going by. So you really have to decide if you're willing to kind of wait in the line for the photo. But it's a really cool aspect of the races, even if you're not going to stop for the photo, to see who the characters are and which characters are on each giant mile marker. So there's really a lot of special touches throughout the race, even if you don't stop for the photos.
If I had seen the Hitchhiking Ghost, because again, Haunted Mansion characters, I think I would have had to stop today. I didn't see them out there, but the photos from these races are like really incredible. I think that's also one of the reasons I wanted to do it. I think last year we raced in Disneyland, which was in California, different experience, 10K half marathon. It was more manageable. 2 days, 4 days, very different experiences, but good challenges. And that was like a very, very memorable race for me because I dressed as Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars and I carried 2 lightsabers, which is like crazy, but I really wanted to celebrate my hand recovery and my grip strength recovery and carry those lightsabers across the finish line. And so it was a little bit symbolic for me in that way. Uh, and so but anyway, one of the things I wanted was the photos, and you're like an expert at getting race photos, and especially Disney photos.
Um, I don't know if I'm an expert, but with the Disney races, I'm not trying to win the races like you are necessarily. So I do have a little bit of leeway to slow down as I see the photographers coming, so that nobody's in front of me blocking my photo. And I do need to work on my poses a little bit, but it is fun when you see the photographers to kind of get ready, look like you're happy no matter what the race is feeling like. But honestly, these 3 races, I've genuinely felt happy and wanted to smile for them. So it is definitely fun. And then I would love to hear a little bit about what you like about going to the parks afterwards. And then one of the features of going to the parks is, as we're in them, the photos start popping up on your My Disney Experience app. And we get to share, like reminisce about the race each day while we're going through the parks.
Right. Okay. Because yeah, that again, going back to like me liking to stand in the parking lot and chat with people, the reminiscing about the race is one of my favorite things, and I do think Disney does an incredible job. I think I'm fascinated by the business of Disney. Our friend Megan gave us Bob Iger, who's the CEO of Disney's book, a few years ago, which is a great read if anyone needs a read. But it's just like the business of Disney is really interesting, and Run Disney is its own thing, but it does obviously take that Disney magic and getting those photos out so that we can post on social media. And as you mentioned, after the 5K and 10K, we did go to the parks. And so our day was, wake up at 2 a.m., get in our costumes, take a bus to Epcot, run the race, take a bus back, shower very quickly, and then get to the parks. And so the first day after the 5K, we went to Animal Kingdom and got immediately on Everest, which is a roller coaster that goes like backwards into the dark. It's a lot, but also one of my favorite things to do. Even though I am not a roller coaster person. And then we, keep riding these rides, and I have you as a like Disney planner, basically, who can help me like structure the day because I think it's a little bit overwhelming as someone who hasn't been here that many times. But I follow your lead and you lead us through. But then as we're riding these rides, we are like when we're in line, it's fun. You like keep checking the app and you're like watching your photos come in, and we're just like, yes. And then you like while you're on, in those moments in between, it's like a great time to post and then get all the likes and kudos and all that kind of stuff. And so it is fun. The parks are very fun. I didn't grow up going to Disney, and so it's been really neat to experience that as an adult. I think I always assumed they were mostly for people who had kids, and I don't have kids, and I think that there is something for everyone. Like the rides I hear are tame compared to other amusement parks, but they are beautiful, and If you have a good friend who can tell you which ones you might like, based on your risk aversion, which for me is quite high. I don't love drops. I don't like anything with motion sickness. I have a long list of things I don't like, but I do like Everest. Yesterday after the 10K, we did get to ride Tiana's, which is a ride that was closed last time we were here, and it was spectacularly beautiful. And it might have topped Everest for my favorite Disney ride. It has a nice little drop at the end that, as you have said, is only 2 seconds. So even though I had a lot of trepidation leading into that drop, I was like, "It's only 2 seconds," and it really was. And so, that was probably my favorite yesterday. Do you have a favorite in the Disney parks? You have a lot of Disney park experience, and
Um,
you do have kids. So what is your favorite?
I think my favorite ride is Tron, which is in Magic Kingdom. And then when we were at the Disneyland parks, I love Incredicoaster. I think it's a great coaster. I think even people who are a little bit fearful of roller coasters, it's a good one to go on. It's a little bit moderate but super fun and long. And I was very impressed with Tiana's yesterday. You had your arms up on the drop, so I was very impressed with that.
We had a good time. It was really fun. My sister Hannah is also here, and she was here 2 years ago, and then she's back, and our friends Ashley and Brian, and then we have met up with your college roommate Kelly and her daughter, and so we had this like a perfect boat of people from our lives, and that also might have made it, like, kind of fun, like, if you can have, like, that kind of a situation, like, who you're with, but in general, Disney's a very inclusive place. I think it's actually a place you could, like, come by yourself and have, like, a very good time, especially if you like to ride, like, certain rides that none of your friends wanna ride. But you are a very good Disney tour guide. So I think
Well,
that has
thank you.
definitely influenced my Disney perceptions and Disney experiences. Because even though they've been short and kind of like hard when I've just run a race and then I go to the parks, it's been really fun. I'm a big fan, and like I said, like the line management is fascinating. We are here in January when I think the lines are a little bit less because people have gone back to school. But speaking of school, your kids aren't here, and you have come with your kids, and I am curious about that. Like, what do you tell your kids when you're going to Disney without them?
I think that is a little bit easier because we typically come as a family over Thanksgiving. So I was just here with them about 6 weeks ago. And also, they're very much looking forward to a trip to Disneyland in 3 weeks. We are going back to the Disneyland races this January. And we're all, as a family, going to do the 5K dressed as Mighty Ducks players. And then my husband Mark will do the 10K, which I think will be great because it goes through both the parks the entire time. And then I'll do the half to secure my coast to coast for the third time since 2024.
That business of Disney that we talked about, there's special medals. So we got this medal for the half marathon today, but then as long as we finish the marathon tomorrow, we get a Goofy medal, which is for doing the half and the full, a Dopey medal, which is for doing the 5K, 10K, half marathon full. And then, as you mentioned, if you go race the California races in the same year, you also get a coast to coast medal. So is that what keeps you coming back to Disney races? Is it the medals?
Think so. I think running for me, I consider myself more of a Zen runner. And so the joy of these races is what keeps me coming back, the joy and the camaraderie. I love the costume aspect. I think it's the whimsy that I need in my life at this phase of my life. And I love coming with friends. I think it's really special. Like I love coming to Disney with my family, but when you come with friends, you're hanging out when you're in line rather than managing the boredom of your children. So it's a special trip when you come with adult friends versus your kids. And I love coming with my children as well. So it's a good complement to that.
I'm excited for your kids to experience a Run Disney event. I'm excited that they're old enough now that they get to run with you and you've been able to run a few races with them. And I'm excited to also hear after that, like what the difference is, uh, and just how the races well, and if they like the 2 a.m. warm ups, or wake ups, if they've taken on that genetically that they just wake up easily at 4 a.m. or if things are a little
Well,
bit different.
that's one of the reasons why we chose Disneyland for their first Disney race is because it'll feel like 8 a.m. Eastern when it's 5 a.m. out there. So that's one of the reasons why we chose to start with Disneyland, and also because we haven't yet been to Disneyland with the kids, and I like to say that we're in our amusement park era. My kids love roller coasters, love Dollywood, Cedar Point, Disney, and so this is just kind of adding to that fun.
It is fun, and then we get some exercise, added in with the run. How are you feeling going into the tomorrow's marathon? Like, do you think about each race when you're running it, or like the totality of 4 days of racing, or you still have this marathon looming over you, or are you able to silo everything off?
Definitely silo. I think I like to take 1 mile at a time in the races and not think about how much further you have to go and just focus on what you should be doing then. And I think that's true of these challenges also, to just worry about the next race, or not worry, but think about the next race versus think about the totality of what's to come. I think it'd be really dangerous to do the 5K day thinking about the marathon. And here we are 3 days in, and about halfway mileage wise, a little bit less. But I'm feeling pretty good. I feel my training has prepared me well. I could get nervous when everyone online is talking about their multiple 20 milers that they've done, or that they're going to do a simulation weekend with a full marathon and training. My training is a little bit more about back to back long run days and cumulative fatigue. And I don't think I hit above 15 or 16 miles in a long run, but I feel so well prepared for tomorrow. And even finishing the half today, I got progressively faster as the half went on, and just still felt really controlled. And my legs feel fine. Energy wise, I feel fine. So I think, depending on how I feel tomorrow, I think it could be a good day.
And full disclosure, I do coach Shelly, and I have for a few years, so there's like a little plug for thank you for your testimonial, but I admire your training so much because I think you have progressed so much over the years and like had that consistency. We mentioned you grew up swimming, you swam in college, that's how we met. And you have just like really stacked like years and years of consistent running to become a runner who can handle something like this, like the Dopey challenge and back-to-back days. And you have a busy life. You have a very full life, and what you are able to do is be like very consistent with those I think back-to-back days, which I think does really prepare you for the Dopey challenge. Because sometimes that's what's hard. It's not just getting in one long run. It's being able to like get up tomorrow and do it again tomorrow, and fuel in between. What do you do for fueling? What did you do today for gels, and like, or I'm assuming you do gels, or do you do something else?
Yes. So before the race, I think I had a Cliff Bar and an applesauce packet and a little bit of coffee just to kind of get myself woken up. And during the race, I think I took gels at like miles 3, 7, and 11. And I really like to take that last gel, even if I don't feel like I need it, because I think it kind of helps you start recovering for the next day, the next race. It helps you if you can't immediately get additional calories in as soon as you finish. And so I think that it all settled in my stomach pretty well. I felt strong through the end. I did feel like as people are kind of struggling in the later miles, I'm kind of picking it up, which is great. And I think a lot of that is my training and also the fueling.
Yeah, because you fuel really well in training too. I think that's something that's hard to do.
It is. And on the long runs, I do them, as I said, pretty early in the morning, and I don't have an opportunity to have a large breakfast. So I think fueling and practicing with the gels takes on even more importance. And so I like to try to get, if I have a 90-minute run, I'll bring 3 gels with me. Maybe I'll have two, but anything over 2 hours, I'm definitely getting 3 gels in. I like to carry a gel even if I'm doing an hour-long run, just in case I feel depleted from the prior day. Maybe I had an early dinner or didn't have enough the day before, and just kind of keep it on me just in case I need it. And that's really helped. You've also helped me try to consume a gel during a workout so that I know what it feels like to take on calories when you're running harder. Cause I think that's one of the challenges of races is it feels different than when you're running kind of your easy, long run pace.
Yeah, I think you do an incredible job with that. I think just both the consistency of your workouts and fueling it. And that's why we're seeing these good time drops. And I'm very excited. What's your costume for tomorrow? Can you share that?
Sure. I'm going to be Minnie Mouse tomorrow, which is kind of a nod to the theme for the marathon is usually Mickey and Minnie. I think maybe almost always Mickey and Minnie. And so I decided to be Minnie this year. I think in 2024 I was Dopey in honor of the Dopey challenge, and last year I did the Goofy challenge, which is just the half marathon and the full marathon. And so I was Goofy for the marathon. So I'm excited to be Minnie tomorrow. And hopefully it'll carry me through a great race.
Yes, I am dressing as the genie. Tomorrow is a fantasy theme, and it's like a very runnable costume. It's a little bit better than this. There probably will not be as much chafing. And and that might have been a good plan. But it I think the costumes do add just like you said, like a bit of whimsy, and it just like challenges things. Like even today when I was running, I'm like I'm not really in my setting PRs era anymore in life. And I'm like, but I can still set a PR for costume. I'm like, this is the fastest half marathon I've run while dressed as a murderous bride. So there's always something, if you drill down enough, you can set a PR in anything.
That's awesome. Do you have any goals for tomorrow, or just see how you feel? And
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm at a weird time in life because I told myself, I'm like, we're not going to the well anymore. After Kona, which was like almost like 3 months ago now, I think I was like, that's it. No more going to the well until I kind of did in the 10K. That was more than I wanted to go. But I would like to run comfortably hard and see what I can do, and just sort of really enjoy the parks and enjoy completing this challenge and still being able to do that. I think I'm trying to use my Kona fitness as much as I can. My training has looked very different the last 3 months. I kind of had a lot of debauchery and celebration post Kona. I've run a few races. I ran the Atlanta 10 miler. I ran the New York City Marathon, which has been very fun, kind of stretching out this fitness. I started a new job. I started a podcast. I'm anyone who's watching this or listening probably knows I'm having a very odd midlife crisis, but thank you all for being along for the ride and throwing a few cheers my way. So we'll see. I heard Brittany Charbonneau, who won all 4 races in 2022, is
wow.
is also racing, and I think there's some other ones. So I need to go out slower and not like I need to follow your pacing plan and have your patience and go out slower. I would like to like today was a very big positive split in the half marathon, which doesn't feel great. And usually I know better, but sometimes I just got to go for it. But maybe go for that even split, negative split. I will not be riding any rides. That is a thing people do here. And people ride the rides because during the marathon, the park's actually open and you can do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to ride any rides either. I love Everest just as much as you do, but at mile 16 of the marathon is not when I would like to ride a backwards roller coaster with gel sloshing around in my stomach. But did I hear you say you know someone who's planning to ride even like Rise of the Resistance, which is a very long 18-minute ride as well?
Yes. So Jen, who, finished in the top 10 in the half marathon today, she had a great race and she has previously won these. She said she wanted a new experience. And so she is doing the marathon tomorrow. And she told me she's planning to race or ride um, Flight of Passage, which is the Avatar race in Animal Kingdom, and then Rise the Resistance in Hollywood Studios, which is like also very far off the race course. And so this is like she had done some very strategic planning, and her husband, who is not racing, was going to meet her in the parks and they would ride them together. So there's something for everyone at these races. Like if you love logistics, you can plan your own adventure, and I'm excited to see if she can pull it off. But I just can't even imagine getting off those roller coasters and running again.
No.
I have a lot of admiration for the people who do that.
For sure. And while we're talking about special run Disney things, the races usually finish going around Epcot, and people like to grab a Mickey pretzel or a margarita and finish holding them. So I also will not be doing that. I'll be getting to the finish line as quickly as possible, hopefully, in those last miles. But there are really special races and unique in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and before I like let you go and maybe I go shower, and today we are spending some time at the pool. Today is our podcasting and pool day and catch up on sleep and life, before the marathon. So we aren't totally absurd, but does the rest of the season look like for you? Are you done in January?
Not done in January. Disneyland, I guess, is the
Yes.
next thing on the list, which is kind of the first weekend in February. And then my husband Mark and I are, we love the Atlanta Track Club races. So every year we do the Publix half marathon, and we'll hit some more Atlanta Track Club races like the Peachtree Road race in July, which is a 10K. And then there's also a special 10 miler that actually Haley came down for. this past year. And so we'll do our normal Atlanta Track Club circuit, but I don't know. I mean, perhaps I will be at Springtime Surprise, so that remains to be seen. But I am signed up currently. If I can make it work with my life schedule, then I'll be here with your sister Hannah and our friend Ashley as a girls' weekend celebrating Ashley's birthday.
That's so special. Oh my gosh. And they are having some great races too, and it is fun. It's fun to see your friends out here and also having good races. And you are someone who races a lot too. I mean, I joked that you were done in January, but no, you race a lot.
I think last year I had 21 races. Now that included Disney challenges. But I think I started out with a lot of race anxiety with running. I have asthma and some stomach issues, and I always was worried about what could go wrong. But then you realize when things go wrong in the races, you finish and it's just fine and no one cares. So I think racing more has helped me have less race anxiety. And, you know, I run for joy. So not every race is going for a PR, and we can talk about which ones maybe that we will go for some PRs. I know our friend Ashley has had 2 PRs already in the Dopey Challenge, which is incredible. And she's running her first marathon tomorrow. And I also want to shout out Betty Janelle, who had an amazing 10K yesterday. And I think she said it was the longest she'd run since 2018. So really proud of her. And then she did all 4 parks in one day, which is a challenge that people do at Disney when they're not running. I've never done that. Amazing, amazing energy from Betty.
The people at these races, it is incredible. That is an endurance athlete to do
Yes.
a 10K in costume. Her costume was fantastic too. She was Tiana, and you know, in the Dynamo colors. You couldn't miss her, which, you know, I love that. I really admire that. But it was also then to go to all 4 parks. I can't even imagine. I think she finished like she probably started like she probably had woken up at 2 a.m. like us, and I think she finished like she said they closed Epcot, which was like 11 p.m. or something, like almost 24 hours of Disney. There's something for everyone in the sport of running right now. I think the sport of running is just in a really cool place, and it's fun for me to be a part of it. And I'm so glad that you introduced me to Disney, because I think that this has been, you know, just a really fun, whimsical, to use the word again, adventure in sport for me. And as I find like these new joys in the sport and ways to still be active and part of this community, I'm so thankful that I have it, because you know, I joke about my retirement all the time from professional triathlon, but I still deeply love endurance sports, and I still want to participate in endurance sports. And I think there is a place for that, even if you aren't a professional.
Yes, and I'm so thankful that you've agreed to do them with me. And you know, it's just another special thing that we have with our friendship. So thank you for coming back 2 years later.
Yes. Well, let's get to the pool and get ready for that marathon tomorrow. And thank you again for indulging my chaotic podcast. Jocelyn Wong Neal, the other podcast co-host, will be so proud of how chaotic this has been today. But hopefully this worked out this time.
It's an honor, and yes, we'll have to give her the behind the scenes after we log off.
Thanks, Shelly. I'll
Okay,
talk to you
thank you.
soon.
Bye.